61 years of a wonderful marriage. It takes time, takes patience, takes love, and it takes coming together. Now, you had mentioned something to me about women living together before they become married. What is your opinion?
Well, I think it's foolish on a woman's part,
Okay.
because usually she's working. I'm making a blanket statement, but she's working, she's taking care of the house, cooking for him, whatever I know some men do now, which is not something that happened in our time. But if they're young and want to have a family, and then they have kids, and then they get married. I think that is not going to be, history is going to prove that isn't so smart.
Okay.
To not have the commitment, if they really talk to children who have parents who are together but not married, and then they're surrounded by a dozen other kids whose parents are married, I'm not so sure that's going to fly.
What do you?
I really don't think so.
And the reason she's probably right is they're playing house. And the word is playing. So everything is wonderful, playing house. But boy, marriage is going to be the same way. I've lived with her for a few years, and everything's going to be the same way. And they haven't learned that's going to go away the minute they say, I do. Because now it's permanent instead of flexible. And the only flexibility they have is divorce, which hurts everybody. So consequently, living together before marriage does not mean that's how you're going to be after you're married.
Do you think the divorce rate in America right now is, to me, it's high, but I think it's too easy. I think that they should, not for everyone, I'm not talking about people who are abused. I'm not talking about crazy people, but I'm talking about there should be something to make them go through something before they can get a divorce.
There should be something before you get married.
Exactly.
They should have courses which the universities and the high schools certainly don't do. And one of them is how to build interpersonal skills. Okay? What are the real values? Values means this. How do you save money? How do you budget? How do you raise a child? What does that really mean? Like one of the high schools which I was really interested in one day, Ventura Boulevard, I forgot the name of it. I was in having coffee with a client, and a girl comes in with a doll. There were 3 or 4 girls with dolls.
Yeah.
And they were holding them, and I got curious and got up and said, you go to the high school? He says, yeah. I says, the dolls? Yeah, we have to diaper the doll. The doll cries at different times. And we're learning what it means to be a mother.
Yes. Yeah.
Now that was a good in my opinion, was a good program, because now that fantasy world
Comes to an
the
end.
baby does get up in the middle of the night, and the baby does need to be taken care of. So consequently, what we have before marriage is completely the opposite after. It's all new experiences with 2 people, and if you're not going to stay together, the experiences are not going to be there. You get to the next one, they have different baggage that they're carrying. And if you want to get along, that's another topic here. There's 3 things you got to ask yourself. Your wife says something or your husband says something, what does it matter? Does it really take a response? Just the second one, what useful purpose will be served if I want to get into an argument?
Feels good sometimes.
And hold, then you get to the third one. If it's really going to be a blowout, is it going to change the course of human events? It's not going to do that. So in 99% of the cases, if you want bad feelings, argue over the picture should be here instead of there. What does it matter where the picture's at? I want to go see a movie. Well, what do I care what movie we see? I mean, I want to go see it, but it's not a big deal. But most people make a big deal out of every little thing. The way you said it, the way you looked, the way you walked, the way you talked, what you dressed, what you didn't do. And that starts eating away at the relationship. If it's just pace along, go along, and there are times you gotta blow, and there's times you're gonna have an argument. But that's gonna be rare. But if you have an argument every day, that's divorce time.
You know, one a day isn't so terrible.
So, okay, so at your 20-year period or 25-year period, you got your kids, your 2 daughters.
Right, we moved here, how long were we married? We moved here in 75, got married in 52, so almost 25 years when we moved here.
So, how was life
That
different?
was a major move because both our families, all our friends were all in Chicago.
So now you had a big move, 2 kids, job, out of state.
Right.
From Chicago to
Right.
California.
Our kids were, one daughter just graduated college, and one daughter was in college.
Wow.
So when he said he had a very good opportunity here, and he went about moving, my thought was I never have to see another winter. And that made it easier for me to give up because we're very close to our families and very close friends. And I knew that, okay, it's California. Luckily, it wasn't Pittsburgh or Oklahoma because I think I would have said, forget it, we're not going. But our one daughter came with us, and she made a very nice life for herself. You know, we didn't know anybody at all. I mean, he went to work, so but I was home, and I didn't know a soul. I had a housekeeper for many years. She came to work for us when our oldest daughter was not even born. I was pregnant. She worked part of a week, didn't live in all the time. She asked if she could come with us.
Wow.
And she did, because she had nobody. So we were really her family. And she was with us till we moved to this house, and then she died a couple of years later. But we took care of her, and in fact, were at her funeral, made her funeral, whatever. So our younger daughter graduated college and said, I'm not moving to California. So we said, you don't have to because, you're out of college now, you can do what you want. Well, I'm going to come visit. And she never left. I thought we moved far enough away she'd leave, but she never left.
Your kids just followed you down. They were not leaving you all by yourself.
So,
But that to me means that your kids are grown now. I mean, when you have kids, it's you and him and kids. And now your kids are grown. So now it's back to just being you and him.
right.
No, I think there's things called passages.
Okay.
Your focus, sublineally looking at this thing, is the children first. You see, it's like starts when the kids are babies and they have to be fed and so forth. So for the first 25 years, if you really looked at it objectively, with their education involved and all, was concentrated on the children and their environment
Okay.
and their friends and any social activities. Now after 25 years, it's still there, but to a lesser degree. And a lesser degree doesn't mean it abates, because once a parent, always a parent. You see, then when they have children, it starts all over again.
Oh, the
So the
grandkids.
entertainment and the structuring of time is all around generational things that are happening. You see, it's not yourself anymore, or your spouse, because that's a given now. Now it's, she's pregnant, she's gonna have her grandchild. Well, we gotta see the grandchild every week or whatever. Then it's parties, birthday parties and so forth, events that begin to happen.
But I think something that was very important, going all the way back, we always had a life for ourselves. We always went out on the weekend, say Saturday night, we always went out to dinner, always. And had babysitters. We always traveled. He traveled for business a lot. He was traveling a lot. I went with him, whether it be Europe, wherever. I went with him, not all the time, but when it was someplace really special. So his life was outside because he was working. I never had that feeling like, oh my God, I'm so tied down. Not, once the kids were not babies. We still did things together. a lot, a lot.
So you made time for each
We
other.
all,
Yeah.
I still, Jerry's big joke, it wasn't a joke to him, is, oh my God, I have 2 daughters and my wife who likes clothes. 3 of them. So they were always, dressed perfect and always,
No, I had more than that. I had 2 female cats, a female dog and a female rabbit, and a female fish. And what
Fish we never
I
knew.
used to say, I have the Tampax concession.
but, yeah, so
Oh,
that was important too, that we always lived our life too. It was never 100% the kids. And an interesting thing, when our daughter was getting divorced, I mean, she wanted the divorce, but she was off the wall with, fears and whatever. And she was making me crazy because she'd call at night after he was asleep and I was up, and then I couldn't go to sleep because she'd make me nuts. So I went to a therapist out here a couple of times, and she said something which was really important. Our grandkids were all teenagers. She said, always remember that you and Jerry at this point are the only stabilizing force in your grandchildren's lives.
wow.
So that's very important that they,
Know
not
that.
to see that you're perfect, mates and it's yester, but that you're together all these years and that what marriage can be.
Yes.
Our daughter was married 20 years, so that it wasn't like it was just a short marriage.
Yes.
So I think it's very important. Young people have to know they have to have time. But see, with mothers today working all the time, they don't have time together at all, a lot of them. And that's really bad.
Well, this closes this session. We will move on to our next.